Well, despite the fact it might be one of the worst performances of the season, Celtic remain 9 points clear of Rangers to start off 2023. We just, and I mean just, by the slimmest of margins, avoid defeat to kick off the new year. And a game that has quite a fair amount of talking points. Let's get into it. It was Rangers 2, Celtic 2. I guess we didn't lose. Like and subscribe, all that nonsense, and Happy New Year to everybody. This is obviously the first kind of time I've spoke to you since the bells the other night, so nice to see you all. Hope you had a safe, a lovely time, enjoyed yourselves. But let's talk about the big story, and that is the game that we've all just watched there, the derby, the second derby of the season, and one where Celtic weren't exactly the greatest, were they? Let's just cut to the chase, and let's be honest about things. I'm not going to overreact or over-exaggerate, and I'm not going to say we were like, beyond dreadful, but for periods of the game it looked like that, and to be honest, we probably didn't deserve a point today. I didn't think it was coming. I'm not going to lie, at that equaliser, for as good as it was and for as much as I celebrated, as for thankful as I am for it, I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was coming. We just didn't look like the same team today. And of course, as always, when you're playing another side, credit has to go to them for nullifying our threats. They'd done their job. They went out, they played much better in the second half and made life difficult for us. But ultimately, I thought Celtic were just really, really poor. We looked a shadow of ourselves from what we're used to, from a week-to-week basis. But even from what we've seen in the first half, listen, I don't think we were anything spectacular in the first half, but we were far better than what we showed in the second half of the game. In the first half, we had control of the ball, we were dominating possession. Maybe we didn't have as many big chances as Rangers, but when the half-time whistle went, I was at least thinking to myself that we looked the better side. We looked the side that was going to go out again in the second half and maybe find a second and just see the game out. But that's not what happened, as we all know. And there were so many decisions made today that really boggled my mind. And this is where I do want to be critical. Like, you're allowed to be critical. That's the thing. Even in victory, you can be critical. Today, of course, we didn't win. We didn't lose. We shouldn't be overly upset. We're still 9 clear. But you have to be critical about some of the things that were done today. And this is the annoying part, because if we did win today, then maybe the decisions would have been vindicated. Maybe there would have been reason to say, okay, they were good decisions, but they weren't good decisions. And we've seen that over the course of the 90 minutes. One of them being James Forrest starting the game. Why did James Forrest start the game? It doesn't make sense to me, and I hope the manager, Ange, clarifies it in one of his post-match press conferences. I really do. Because it makes no sense. It's his second derby start in 3 years. He's barely started any games this season. I know he had a good run of form before the World Cup break and he deserves minutes. I'm not saying he doesn't. But starting him didn't make sense. You start Abada, you start a Jota, you start one of those guys. And listen, I don't think any of the two of them exactly came off the bench and done much better than what Forrest did. But it just doesn't make sense to me. When you've got a massive game, a huge derby match, which, you want to win and go 12 points clear, why do you suddenly throw in James Forrest, who's seen the least amount of football out of all of them? It just didn't make a lot of sense to me, and it wasn't great either for us. This is what I'm saying. If he had a good game and it contributed to a win, we'd all be saying, what a decision, what a great decision, but it wasn't. That's the fact of the matter, you know what I mean? That's what's happened. And then, once again, Juranovic being brought on in place of Greg Taylor. Now listen, let me get one thing very clear. I think that Greg Taylor going off today changed the whole game. For 2 reasons. Number one, because he's a great player, and he was, actually, I thought he was okay until he went down. I thought he was doing well, he was contributing well to the team. Him going off really did kind of hold us back a little bit, I thought. But the second reason that it changed the game was because of Josip Juranovic. We need to talk about that performance. It was really bad. Astronomically bad. Catastrophically bad from Josip Juranovic. And I am trying my best. I've seen so many people on Twitter giving him it stinking. But deservedly so. It was a really bad performance. But, getting very personal with it. And people maybe saying, he's not interested, yada, yada. I don't even think it necessarily comes down to that. What I think it comes down to is the fact that Josip Juranovic wasn't 100%. And the manager said that before the game. And his pre-match interview, He was asked about Juranovic being on the bench and whether he'd seen minutes, and he said he doesn't know, he's not 100%, and that's why Johnson's starting. If he wasn't 100%, then why did we play a right back at left back? I don't understand that. Once again, I'm not the manager. I'm not employed to make these decisions. He knows far better than me and what he's doing. I'm never going to go in over my head with it. You know, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert. But when you've got a left back sitting on the bench who is 100%, who is fit, and a left back goes off, why did he put on the unfit right back? It just didn't make sense to me. And he just looked, he was visibly knackered. And part of it might be effort levels. Part of it could be, a lot of people are saying it is, and I can understand why. He's obviously on the cusp of a move away. His future's maybe not with Celtic, but I think he just looked visibly knackered. I think he just looked like he didn't have it in him. His legs, just his body in general, he was caught out time and time again, and that changed the game for me. Towards the end of the first half, and then obviously right at the start of the second, because Juranovic is probably the most to blame for the first goal we concede. He just looked like he couldn't run, he couldn't keep up, he was getting turned inside out. Why did we not bring on Bernabei? I think it's a bit of a slap in the face to Bernabei, if truth be told. And I don't know if there's a reason that's the case. Maybe he can't trust him in these big games yet. Maybe he just doesn't think he's good enough yet. I still think he should have been given the opportunity today when Greg Taylor went off the park, and it wasn't. And we paid the price for it, I think. I don't think that we would have been any worse off with Bernabei on the park today than Juranovic. And this isn't me getting personal with Juranovic. I love him. I love him to bits. And I think he's a quality player. We all seen that at the World Cup that's just passed. But today, he really, really struggled. And it contributed to it. And that's, ultimately, that starts off the second half. We give away the goal. We give away the penalty, which is a really stupid penalty to give away, and it all just goes from there. And I think that is the real reason that we just couldn't find ourselves in that second half. We couldn't get the same tempo, the same consistency with what we do. It was all lacking in that second half, and I think a lot of it all came from just that start of the second. So yeah, I'm glad that Kyogo's got his derby goal. I think that was huge. We needed that. He needed that. And obviously it's a very important goal. It saves us the point, and that's the thing I'm supposed to be happy about today. That's the reason for us to have a little bit of a celebration. We remain 9 clear thanks to Kyogo digging one out towards the end of the game. Our first goal, Maida, I thought it was brilliant. Let's try and be a wee bit positive for a moment here. I want to talk about people who did stand out for me today before we get back into the negatives. Maida's finish is brilliant, and he's a guy who is on form just now. He's a guy who's got a bit of confidence in his game, and I've said it time and time again, even when the world was against him and he was getting pelters, I said a bit of confidence in this guy's game and he will come good. He will be a player that we can trust and rely on, and he will score goals. You've seen him do it against Hibs the other night, and you've seen him do it against Rangers today. 2 massive away games. These aren't just wee games on passing. These are big games, and he's delivered in the big moments when we've needed them now. He couldn't miss. If he did miss, I would have been questioning things. But it was a tidy finish. It puts us up 1-0 in the game. Kyogo's is obviously just, I think that's what we needed. I was hoping and praying. I was crossing my fingers. We just got the break of the ball to find a second goal. A bit like how Carter Vickers got his back in April. I was just hoping for something like that, and that's precisely what happened with Kyogo, because I didn't think we'd get our goal any other way. So there is stuff to be positive about. I thought Vickers was just tremendous. Maybe the standout for me in the Celtic team. I think if it wasn't for Cameron Carter-Vickers, Rangers could have maybe not scored, but they definitely would have had a few more decent chances, hit the target, test the keeper. There's a couple of big blocks he made in the game, so I think that he was a real standout for me. And he deserves a lot of credit for his performance today. Talking about the keeper, Joe Hart, bit of a stinker. Not going to lie, not much you can do for the goals. I mean, one's a penalty, the other, it's not the easiest in the world for him. But there was the moment in the first half where he gives the ball to Morelos. It could have went very differently, and that let Rangers get into the first half. At a point where we were in total domination. We were running the game, the momentum was fully with us. It let them get a sniff, an opportunity, and it kind of changed the tone of the game a little bit. And that was just through stupidity. He should have moved the ball. We need to realise that sometimes if the short pass isn't an option, just get rid of it. I know it's not part of the philosophy, I know it's not what the manager wants us to do, and it's not what the players want to do, but in a game like this, sometimes you just have to do it. And he should have done it there, and it would have stopped Rangers from getting back in the game the way they did. But a big shout out to Vickers. Thought he was good. Starfield, I think he struggled in the game. I didn't think he was great. The penalty is really poor. He shouldn't be given away. He shouldn't be going in like that. There was no need for him to dive in. and that obviously gave Rangers the lead. And then I think everybody, McGregor and such, I don't think there was anybody overly bad apart from the ones we've already spoke about. But there wasn't a hell of a lot of standouts. And as I said, it was one of the poorest performances that I've seen from a Celtic side this season. But lo and behold, a point. So I guess we can smile about that. Haven't even mentioned Alistair Johnston yet. I thought he was really good in the first half. Second half, he was a bit quieter in the sense that not much through him. I just feel like he never had as much to do as what we've seen with him on the ball and such in the first half. But I thought he was really good. A really good opening performance for him. A good debut. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table. So a shout out to Alistair Johnston. And a massive shout out to Greg Taylor for the Morelos comments. It might be already probably quote of the year. You know, we'd done that in the channel the other day for 2022, and I done quote of the year, and we were sitting thinking, what is it? We've already got a winner for 2023, and that's fuck off fat boy from Taylor to Morelos. Top tier. That's like 2016-17 levels of banter here, you know what I mean? Love it. So finally, we may as well talk about one of the major talking points of the game, and it's ones I just can't be bothered talking about it, but it has to be done, and it's the VAR decision in relation to Celtic's what should have been a penalty. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to be bluntly honest here. Apart from that decision, for a derby, probably not the worst refereeing performance I've seen, but that just takes the biscuit, and it makes it a terrible refereeing performance. How is it not a penalty, first of all, right? Who has sat in the VAR room and decided it's not a penalty? Goldson's playing fucking volleyball. There's a penalty every day of the week. There's no argument about it. So someone in that room has watched on in the VAR office and said it's not a penalty. Don't know how. Actually, more than one. There's maybe, how many of them in there? 3, 4? Something like that. And they've all said, nah, nothing from that. But number 2, John Beaton, who is in control of the game on the park, doesn't even go to look at it. He's refereeing the game, not the VAR officials. It's still a joke. It still needs fixed, and there still needs to be explanation into how they are coming up with these decisions. That is a clear and definite penalty, just like Rangers was. Rangers was a clear and definite penalty. Ours should have been a clear and definite penalty, but we didn't get it. For what reason? We don't know. We have no explanation. We have nothing, and the referee didn't even bother going to look over it and make a decision for himself. Celtic robbed of a penalty, and in relation to that, potentially robbed of more than just a point today. So these are big decisions that are impacting games, and I hate complaining about them all the time, but we are getting to the point now where I'm genuinely believing in the conspiracy theories, which I've never liked to do, but I'm getting to the point I'm like, well, there's no justification. So yeah, anyway, it finishes 1-1. I'm going to let you enjoy your night. If you're having a drink, enjoy. If you're not, enjoy. And we'll be back for the next game, which is, when's it? I can't even think now off the top of my head. I don't care. Just got to process this for now. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.